conversation with character, to reflect on my past to present, aware of character defects.
I'm sorry.
The passion, the power, the purpose of unwoven recovery, unity, service, 1 year token.
The most prestigious network in the land.
This is a two-part interview. First, Melissa, who founded Mac Quacks Foundation to raise crisis intervention awareness after making an attempt on her life. The second interview is with the co-founder, her boyfriend, who was with her that fateful night.
This is Character Asked It. You already know Character Did It. I'm here with Melissa. Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
What do I do?
Yes.
I'm a realtor.
You're a realtor?
For one. Yes.
Okay.
So that's kind of, but part-time. I'm also an artist. And I'm now an owner of a nonprofit organization.
Where are you from? I think you said I didn't hear it, though.
Originally, I'm from Illinois. Champaign-Urbana area.
Okay.
But I'm in Virginia Beach now. I've been here since 96.
What was growing up in Illinois like for you?
It was something. It's a lot different than being here in Hampton Roads, more rural. Then again, it's a whole different time frame. That's 26, 27, 28 years ago. That was a long time ago. So you didn't have the same connections with email or social media or things like that. So we lived pretty far out in the country. I had a couple friends that were close by that I could ride my bike there, but for the most part, we're 30 minutes outside of town. So it was quiet.
Yeah.
It was quiet. I miss that. So I enjoy when I go back home that I get to experience that.
I bet. I kind of experienced the same thing, but opposite. I grew up in a big city and I moved to like a smaller country area. And now when I go back home, it's so overwhelming. There's so many people, there's so much traffic. It's nice to be in the calmer areas for sure.
Yes. I agree. So we do a lot of traveling now. So I like to check out all different types of areas, but that'll still always be one of my favorite places to be at.
What did you do after high school?
I went in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I ended up here. I was stationed here in 96. I was at Naval Air Station, Norfolk. And then later on, after I got out, I stayed here. I had kids. We left. We lived in Hawaii for 4 years, and then came back here, and pretty much have been back here ever since.
Do you want to tell me about your time in the Navy?
There isn't a lot to say, to be honest with you, because I only served a couple years. Okay. I got out for my own personal reasons, honorable discharge, and it's a lot of health related issues. So at this point now, I am 100% disabled veteran. And that's something that I'm very grateful for, that I have the VA to help, especially with what I'm working on right now, because I'm partnering with them to help provide training in the community.
Sure, and that's how I found you. I saw a reel where you were talking about this foundation that you've started, and why don't you tell me about that and what made you start it and everything like that?
Well, I'm going to get a little deep on you for a second.
Please do.
And it's a little bit in the video as well, but back in March, at the end of March, I had a particularly rough bout. I deal with PTSD, or complex PTSD. I was just going through it, and although I was not a daily drinker and not somebody that needed to have alcohol every day, when I did drink after one or two, it was easy to keep going. Have 3 or 4, 5 or 6. And I'd had a particularly rough night, and I was in my head, and I was living through a lot of different experiences, and just wasn't a good place to be. And I ended up making an attempt on my life. At the hospital, I had I mess around with my hands. It's like an anxiety thing. So, at the hospital, I had a 0.31 blood alcohol content.
Wow.
And I took a bottle of pills. It was not something that I thought I was capable of doing, because I am genuinely I value life. I work very hard on a daily basis to maintain mine with a lot of health issues that I deal with, and that's, part of, what makes things, it kind of got me where I was at that point, just being kind of fed up with everything, being tired. And, I was in the hospital for almost a week. And then after that, the VA stepped in and they had the suicide prevention team calling me. They would call me multiple times a week, had therapy going. And, through all of it, I mean, for the first thing, just so you know, I haven't had a drop to drink since that night.
How long ago was this?
That was March 28th.
Wow, okay.
So I won't drink again. It tried to kill me, and I'm not okay with it. I don't eat peanuts for the same reason.
Are you allergic?
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't become allergic to peanuts until I was an adult. So this was something that happened a couple of years ago, and
they tried to kill you.
Yes. I was eating crackers and peanut butter in bed. I was single, so you can eat crackers in bed at that point. And my face started to feel a little off. I asked my daughter about it, and she had me call the paramedics, and I have a pacemaker. So my chest was heavy, so they're thinking she's never been allergic to peanuts before. Why would she be allergic to peanuts now? And so they didn't give me any medicine yet. They took me away in the ambulance to the hospital. Meanwhile, I've got a rash growing down my arms. So by the time I got to the hospital, the doctor's definitely she's anaphylactic shock, and
wow.
They did the EpiPen and got everything started, and so I was like, okay, well there's that. I even had a blood test to prove it because I love peanut butter so much that I didn't really want to give it up unless I absolutely had to. Thought maybe it was a fluke. So definitely. And so that day I had to put down peanut butter and never have it again, even though I loved it. It was something I'd had my entire childhood growing up. Most evening snacks, very cute. Most evening snacks had peanut butter in it. I mean, that was just something we grew up on.
And
so
you just randomly developed an allergy. That's weird.
Well, no, not for me. I'm allergic to a lot of things, and a lot of it's happened. The older I get, the more things get added to the list. But I have an autoimmune disease. I have RA. And so whether or not that plays into the role of the allergies, it just seems to be if I consume something too much, my body says no more. And, wow. But it's multiple. So tree nuts, basically. Tree nuts and then peanuts.
Okay.
All of them. And so they're just stay away from all of them. It's not worth it. So, but the point on it was that, that day I had to put the peanut butter down, and I love it. Reese's peanut butter cups, love it. Had to put it all down and never have it again, because if I have it again, then I'm risking my life. Sure. And that's how I feel about alcohol at this point.
How long were you in the hospital when you OD'd?
I didn't OD. Well, I guess at a 0.31 BAC, you might as well call it that. Now that you're saying that, that's a terminology I hadn't even thought about with the pills. So I was at the hospital with the emergency room. They had me there for a day and a half, almost 2 days. They were just trying to find a place to put me. And it's a really funky experience because they come in with their little cart and they've got a TV on it, kind of like what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. But there's a doctor on the other side of that screen, and they talk to you. It feels like you're total sci-fi. And they're trying to decide from the computer screen what to do with you, and where to put you. And they're going through all the different possibilities, and every place is full.
Yeah. Right.
And of course, this place, I'm grateful that I was safe and that I was okay. I'm grateful for that. So no matter what, but the place that they sent me to, had this beautiful brochure that said, that it had top-notch psychiatric care, that kind of stuff, counseling and everything. And it really was more like a detox tank. There was no, which I didn't need. I wasn't having withdrawals. I wasn't a daily drinker. So that wasn't something that was necessary. But it was the experience. I was there for another 4 days or so in this facility. But talking to people during that few days, these people a lot of them were repeat offenders. They were back in there, they would get messed up, they would have a problem, they would have some problem with the law or, self-harm, whatever the case might be. They would end up there, they would spend some time, they would get clean, they go back out, and revolving door. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. But, I'm not one to judge somebody's journey with that. I can only go by mine. And hope that I can be an example with it.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I mean, there was a bazillion times that should have told me that I needed to stop drinking, and I didn't do it. It took this. So, in the months that followed that, as I really as I told the therapist, it's like coming through a fog.
Yeah.
And like really starting to think clearly. And for me, it wasn't a matter of, okay, well, I know if I stay away from alcohol, then I won't make that choice again. That's for safety. I know that's not something that I have to worry about because I'm not going to have this. But at the same time, how did I get to that point? What was the underlying problem that allowed me to get there? Because I've had counseling off and on throughout my whole adult life. There has been suicidal ideations or thoughts before, but this was the first time that I fully went through with them. So I tried to figure out what was the problem, and time again, I kept coming back to crisis management, knowing how to properly behave in a crisis or properly predict when a crisis might happen. I mean, if I have a blood sugar condition too, and I know that if I have a certain amount of, it's not diabetes, but I know if certain things happen, I need to react in certain ways, right? So I realized that's, there's a lot of, and I don't mean to knock anything, there's a lot of suicide prevention places that want to talk about that. Let's suicide prevention, suicide awareness. But I feel like when you get to suicide, it's too late. It's like, I did everything right that night. I called people. I tried to explain, but my chaos, because I've had multiple traumas, my chaos didn't make any sense to them, even if it made sense to me. And so we don't know how to help you. My boyfriend had gone to bed. He's like, I'm not going to deal with the drunk thing. We're not going to do that. There wasn't anything, I guess, by textbook that I did wrong, and I still ended up where I ended up.
Right.
So I started thinking about the fact that, where did this all start, or where was it all an issue? And honestly, the trauma for me starts in early childhood. So with that, I really had to pay a lot of attention to how do I view myself. And the one thing that I learned that I keep coming back to is that my entire life I have thought I was inherently bad and not a good person. I have to work hard to be a good person, and I have to prove to other people that I'm a good person. I need them to see all of these good things that I have, because they don't. I don't want them to see that I'm this bad person underneath. That you hide all that, because if you work so hard to be good and then they see a bad part, well, then that just dismantles all this work. Not that it's work. For a long time, I thought that, you're pretending to be you, almost. Does that make sense?
There is no yourself kind of thing. You are just what people expect you to be.
Yes. You're just putting on this show. And the thing is that, I'd listen to people talk about, just over the years, I've listened to people talk about Facebook and social media, and, everybody puts their best foot forward and you never know what to believe. Well, there's a big difference. But if you look at my Facebook page, I travel a lot. I do fun things. I want to know as much about the world as I could possibly ever know. I don't have enough time in my lifetime to know all the things that I want to know. So I post these things and I share these things and I try to participate. These are all good things, but that's not a lie. None of that stuff was put on as like a facade to just get people to believe I have a good life. No, I have all these good things.
Right.
That doesn't mean, though, that I didn't have bad things and that wasn't getting to me. And the problem is like I would justify, okay, well, my body hurts. I've had a bad day. Something was, I wouldn't use like triggering, but I would use, things got me in my head,
Sure.
reminders. So I would use that as an excuse. Oh, I need a drink. That'll relax me. That'll calm me down. And it would just get out of control. So I had to, in looking at that more deeply with myself, I had to realize, hey, I'm not a bad person. I've never been a bad person. I never deserved to feel like I was a bad person because I'm a good person. Have I done bad things and have I made bad choices? Yeah.
Was that a result of the childhood trauma you're talking about, being convinced you're a bad person?
I think so. Honestly, I say ours. Like I'll do my best to not use names of people that know us. Like will know the situation. But so our situation isn't very common. When I was younger, I had 3 siblings, and then myself, and we were taken away from our parents. So I was 3. My little sister was 2. My brother would have been 4 and a half, 5, and then our older sister, just a little older than that. So when we were taken away, we were split up and given to different families. And the family that I went to, which I'm very grateful for, they had 4 of their own kids, and then they adopted me or had me come live with them. So I'm 3 and I'm the youngest out of the 5. And we're all very close in age. So I'm taken away from my parents, I'm taken away from siblings, and then I'm thrown into another family with new siblings and new parents. And while I didn't realize how much of an impact that had on me as I got older, I just kept blaming myself. Well, that wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. My siblings didn't do anything wrong. We didn't deserve to be in that situation. But for a kid, if you reverse engineer that, I didn't again, my adopted family is great and they've done well for me, but there's also been things that maybe weren't the best, but in their defense, they had no idea what they were getting into.
Sure.
And obviously I didn't know because I'm just a kid.
Right.
So by the time they finally adopted me, I was 6. It took that long for the parental rights to be taken away. In the meantime, there was visits with my biological siblings. So I still had that connection. My little sister and I went to high school together. And so but we're not, we're sisters, but not sisters.
Okay, tell me about that dynamic, because that's kind of exciting, that's cool, but was it just weird? Was it?
Yeah, my sister and I have a very strange, so out of the 4 of us, we are 2 full biologicals, we're biological full, and then my older sister and older brother, they're full biological. Okay. So with her, it's like she's the only other person in the world that I know is 100% DNA.
Yeah. Right.
Me. And I love her. She will tell you the same thing. We do not like each other. We are different in the way that we handle ourselves and how we handle life. She may not approve of mine. I might not approve of hers. We'll love each other from afar.
Okay.
She's got 4 beautiful children, grandchildren. I love seeing them. There's something different about that biological, knowing that face is the same as yours that's looking at you, even though you weren't raised with it.
Especially from your perspective.
Yes, I didn't realize how powerful that was. But we, so it was, teenage girls, put it that way. We high school was not a great thing. I made a lot of bad choices. Around that time frame, I didn't feel like I fit in. I had convinced myself that I didn't fit in. I got involved in a relationship that was toxic, to the point of almost abusive or abusive. There was a lot of trauma that was experienced in that in itself. But I believed everything he was putting down.
That's the way it is.
I needed that acceptance. I needed that, when they come in with the line and they're like, well, nobody else is going to love you like I do. Nobody else is going to take care of you like I do. They don't care about you. You are this, you are that, trying to create that separation. Well, that's abuse in itself. And that trend carried on through adulthood. So, I think that there was a lot of things. I'm kind of going back. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Please.
Merry-go-round there. Thinking about like why I started all of this. This story that I'm telling you isn't one that I just go, share with everybody.
Sure.
I don't post that all over Facebook, or I haven't.
Right.
But maybe I should have.
Maybe we're about to.
Right. Exactly. There was so many times that I wanted to like talk and tell my story, and it was that fear that kept me from doing it. Already feeling like I'm 10 steps behind and having to work as hard as I do for what I've got. Like it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I look back now and I see how much stress I put myself through, how much stress I put my body through. And with all this stuff that I've got going on, stress is not a good deal. That just adds to the problems. And then you add in, when I would drink on top of that, what that damage was doing. No good. So I realized with this crisis management and crisis awareness, that there was an avenue that we hadn't explored yet as a community. Why did it, for me, I didn't know, as appreciative as I am to the VA and the services that they had available, why did I not know that they were available until after I made the attempt on my life? That needed to come from beforehand. Those skills needed to be there beforehand. And so that's what I'm trying to change with this foundation. So I've got a multi-pronged approach.
So we haven't actually discussed the foundation. People watching don't know about it yet. So you get out of the hospital with the wake-up call in March, and then here we are in October. You started a foundation. When did you start it? What's it doing? What are you doing with it? Tell me all about it.
Okay, so I came up with the idea of it literally like less than 3 months ago.
Okay.
It started out, I was playing with clay. And I was thinking about something for real estate. I was trying to put together a plan, like what is a creative way to market real estate? Because I'm not very traditional, and I just wanted something fun. And my neighbor, a friend of mine, my best friend, lived across the street. We would have little ducks in the neighborhood that would make nests, and they would have babies, and we would sit there and talk about them. We'd call them like the Quackersons, the Duckersons, the Quacks, whatever, and like talk about their little babies and where they must have gone. I mean, sometimes they didn't make it very far, and so it was just kind of entertaining. So I'm sitting there playing with this clay. I just figured out what polymer clay was.
Okay.
And I am what you would call a very diverse artist. If I haven't done the art form, I want to do it. And so I paint, I draw, I use chalks, I created a technique, I do reverse glue and glass paintings that are phenomenal. I paint it in reverse with Elmer's glue, food coloring, and spray paint. It's phenomenal.
Wow, that sounds really cool.
It is super cool. So you'll have to look those up, or I'll have to send them to you.
No doubt, please.
Yeah, woodworker, I've done wood turning. So polymer clay, this was a new thing. We went to a concert with my boyfriend's colleague and his wife, and she was telling me about it. So me being me, I came home and I didn't want to buy polymer clay, so I made some. So I tend to when I work with different mediums and things like that, traditional clay is a little hard for my hands to use.
Okay.
So I made a clay that works for me, that's really soft when I'm working with it, but then it hardens very well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Because I did this when I was wood turning. I couldn't use the tools that traditionally, like, you just buy from a manufacturer. The handles were too narrow and not long enough. At that point in time, I had already had one spinal cord compression. And so I would lose control of it too easily. So I made my own, and they're longer and they're wider. And I made certain curves on them, so I know where my hand is at on the tool.
Wow.
And if my hand gets tired or cramped, I can use my elbow and hold it onto my hip. So it gives me steadiness.
Making it work. That's cool.
I will. Like, I like being creative. I like using non-traditional methods and means to get things to work. So I made this clay. I started making these ducks. I came up with the idea with the story. And the more I told the story about these ducks, and then I wanted to be like a pair of them. And they were trying to find their home. Because as a realtor, that's what you're doing. And I was like, this is not like, we sell houses. We don't sell homes. So the more I thought about that, I'm like, that's true. Like, that's okay. So how can I work this and actually, expand this to show people their home?
Sure.
What makes people feel at home? The people that make them feel safe, the people that make them feel comforted, that feel loved. And so I started thinking and putting the two and two together between my situation and, the fact that this crisis management was very important, that people needed to find this connection to their home. And I realized that I could use this in a way to bring people together, because right now our communities are overloaded when it comes to mental health. They do not have enough appointments available. There's not enough providers. You're getting an appointment and it's months and months out, and that's not enough. And if that's the best we've got when it comes to getting into a professional, then we better get better at helping one another out.
Yep.
Because that's the only real way that we're going to be able to save lives in the meantime. Because somebody that's having that suicidal ideation can't wait months for an appointment.
No.
So this is where we get to the multi-pronged part. Because I started with the duck idea, and I realized that what I wanted to do was that I was going to take these ducks and I was going to get stories to go behind them. So the ducks will represent people from a perspective of a family member or a loved one that is now gone due to suicide, written by their home, their family. It's going to provide whatever they want to share, but we don't need to know, they had a really troubled past. Well, we get that because they would be here otherwise. What I want to know is, what did the world lose when we lost them? I want to know the good stuff. What did we miss out on because that person isn't in the world anymore? So I want people to share their stories. I'm hoping that we're still tweaking the website and getting it ready to be able to take these. But the deal is, first name or nickname only. The story provided by someone. They can do it on video, they can do it on audio, they can do it written, and we will put it, so that it goes on the video, because each duck will have a QR code on the bottom that when you scan it will go to that particular duck's story. And it will tell you, about that person and about the things that they loved. If they love the Butterfly Society or they love butterflies, maybe they'll have a link to the Butterfly Society or something creative that other people didn't realize was something they could get into, and maybe they would find some pleasure in that.
That's amazing.
Increasing pleasurable activities. So when they do that, when they tell the story, I'm asking for a one-word descriptive of something that they can use to tell me about the person. So a friend of mine, when I was in the Navy, she got pregnant at the time. She had her daughter, and unfortunately, a few days ago was the 3-year anniversary from when she committed suicide. She was only 22 years old. So Kiana's duck is a work in progress, but we're working on her because she's going to be based off of a pink cupcake. And you're not getting all of the colors and everything as well on the iPad, but she's a darling. But so this is Kiana, and this is going to tell Kiana's story. And one of the things that, we've found very important, as Stephanie and I have talked a lot, and she helped me a lot after this, recent attempt, Kiana's mom, was that, sorry, sidetracked.
You're okay.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Sure. So after she passed away, she was an organ donor, and 5 of her organs went to recipients. And so even though she's gone, she saved 5 other lives.
Wow.
And so that's amazing. And so that's something that Stephanie really wants to share about Kiana. So on her story, we'll have pictures of her duck. It'll give a full 360 view, and then it'll have her story. It'll explain, the cupcake thing, as far as like that's what the decor is, so that people get that. And hopefully people will, they'll understand a little bit more about Kiana, or understand that, when somebody's gone. I mean, to me, I don't think a lot of people think about that. No. Somebody's gone, but there is a piece of them that has now provided such a big impact to others. I have a lot of other people that have shared stories with me already, so we're in the process of putting those together. My duck is supposed to resemble a flame.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of funny. However, the ducks, because I made this clay, it's not stable necessarily all the time. So as it dries, this one got a little crook in its neck. A year ago, I had a second spinal cord compression.
Wow.
I broke a vertebrae in my back. So, I've got the scar there. I thought it was kind of funny that it put it there.
That's crazy.
So, but it's supposed to be a flame. I want it to be something that catches, takes hold, and spreads as far as we can get it. But as we tell these stories and as people connect, that's one of it. So the ducks, just so you know, the way to get them, I'm going to have them all over the communities. You might find one sitting at a table at a restaurant. You might find it at a park bench. You might find it in the mall. But they're going to be put out randomly. And with the QR codes, we can track them so that we can see, if one starts out in Virginia Beach and ends up in California and then ends up in Tokyo, we're going to know it.
That's so cool.
It is cool. So we're hoping that that will trigger people to respond to the videos. And obviously taking the YouTube, we'll clip that down. Then we'll have TikTok, we'll have Facebook, we'll have Instagram. Trying to appeal to all the different ways that people gravitate towards information. Because some people might love TikTok but never get on YouTube. We want to hit as many formats as we can to get that message across, that these are out there for people to find and to connect with, and then connect to that community. So that's one part of it.
Are you making them all by hand, by yourself?
Yeah. Well, actually, so I've been calling them my duckers. I've been having a bunch of duckers come over, and if they come over and they're helping me with the foundation, because right now it's I'm putting every dollar I have into this. Because there's people that have to be paid. The accountant has to be paid. The web design guy has to be paid. People are working. And so a lot of us are doing it volunteer only, to get it off the ground. But so everybody that comes in that's working on foundation stuff, they're not allowed to leave unless they make a duck. And so we've gotten some very, very interesting, full of character ducks. That's for sure. The only requirement I have when they're making them is their beak has to be open. Because one of the slogans that I'm using is "It's time to talk." And you can't talk with a shut mouth.
That's good.
You can't.
That's good. So I don't know if you said the name of the foundation. Tell me the name of the foundation.
Mac Quacks Foundation. So ducks quack, that's how they talk. So Mac talks. Mac is my middle name. That's my artist name as well. And so it's basically me talking. The ducks will be a big part of this. It's a fun part of it for people to get involved into the creative aspect and take something that's super awful and hard and tragic and whatever descriptive word you can use for just immensely terrible. But I want to find a way to make that into something that's a little more livable, because the other part that people don't talk about is the people that are left behind. And so you take this thing of pain for the person that's gone and you're just handing that box over to the next person. And I can't tell you how many times over the last couple months, because I've been down to Florida, I've been in North Carolina, I've been up in Pennsylvania, everywhere I go, I've been in Texas. I talk to people about this and I tell them what I'm doing. And I keep getting a version of this. And that's, you know what, this happened to my friend, my dad, my brother. And I haven't had anybody to talk to about it because I didn't feel like it was okay. But because you're talking about it, now it's okay for me to talk about it. So that is a huge thing to me in breaking that stigma that goes along with it, is you got to get people to open up and talk. How can people heal if nobody knows they're even hurting to begin with? And they shouldn't have to do it by themselves. So the ducks play one big important part about that. The other thing that I'm doing, and I'm starting this at Iron Valley in Hampton Roads, because that's the brokerage that I'm part of, but I'm starting trainings. We do our first 2 in December. We've got the next 2 I just am working on getting set up for January. But I'm partnered with the VA, with the local VA in Hampton, with their suicide prevention team. And they have a program that they do called SAVE training. And it's a crisis awareness, crisis management type training, full on with role play and everything, to really help people with this information. And how do they go about helping themselves or helping a loved one that's in a tough spot? How do we recognize that? And, I specifically decided to incorporate in the brokerage with that, because as realtors, again, we sell houses. Everybody needs a house, just like everybody needs a home. And so we should be giving back to our communities in this regard. We deal with people that are old, young, rich, poor, but if you need housing, regardless of where you might be on that spectrum. And so we have the biggest impact and reach for so many demographics of people in one place. It's not like you go to one Facebook page and you can only get so many there. So with these trainings, this will be open to everybody, not just veterans and not just people in the VA, because regardless of the fact of being a veteran and realizing the scope of what services should be available to them, these are also skills that are needed throughout everywhere. It's not limited to just our military. And so that's a way for us to give back in these communities. So once I get Hampton Roads set up, and the goal is that we're going to continue working with other nonprofits, talk to professionals in the industry so that we can build on the training that happens so that people keep coming back. I don't want a training that you learn the same information every week and you go down the street and you get it from somebody else and it's all the same stuff.
And that's half of what psychiatric training is right now. All training
Yes.
like that. It's cookie cutter, out the book type stuff.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
We want something that's going to get the community engaged. And by going to different locations, hopefully that will bring in people from different areas that maybe wouldn't have otherwise.
Sure.
But once I get Hampton Roads set up, then I'm heading down to Iron Valley Space Coast, where that's down in Cocoa Beach. And I already went and talked with them about a month ago. They're excited about this and seeing how it develops. And so the plan is to connect them with their regional VA suicide prevention team and get that training going there. And then my goal is to go as many brokerages as I can across the country and do the same thing.
You're moving fast.
Heck yeah. we can't afford not to.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
This is how you save lives. We can't afford for this to be some, not saying I'm the end all be all, but if it sparks ideas and, gets people thinking, then that's fine. But it's not something that I feel like I can afford to take a year or two to put together. I'm watching between me and my partner, we have 5 kids. They're all adults. They're young adults. They're going out into the world, and the world is tough right now. It doesn't look like it did the way back in the early 90s for us, and we thought it was tough then. They've got information coming at them nonstop. The world is expensive. It's constantly at war with itself. There's always something going on, and it's heartbreaking. They can't afford to go another couple of years and not have supports in place. So in whatever way we can trigger that to make that happen, we want to do that. So that'll be the trainings. We're also going to be doing artist interviews. I'm going to solicit artists of all types. I want to be able to interview them and have them explain, what is it that you do? If you make music on your living room floor, I want to come sit on your floor with you, and I want to know why you make music. What do you find out of that? Because one of the things that the VA did for me was art therapy. And I've been an artist for a little while, but I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. Like, I thought that in order to make my best stuff, I had to be, having a drink or loosening up, because otherwise I wasn't going to put it all out there. And that's not the case. I mean, the way that the mind works when you're utilizing a creative medium, you're outside of what's happening. It allows you to process, and if you're talking while you're doing it, you process things so differently, and I had no idea. So I want to share that with everybody because I'm excited about it. Like, heck yeah, man, put down the bottle and pick up a lump of clay. Because it did wonders for me to be able to do that. So I want to do these interviews, and I want to expose people to different types of art. We'll have the podcast that we're going to do where we actually talk about it. As I get each new flock of ducks that are going to go out into the world, we'll sit down and we'll talk about them, and we want to pay tribute to them. I'm paying tribute to them when they're designed. I will have other artists that I would like to get involved into helping design them. It depends on how many we get requested, but we will make sure to make it through all of them. And we will keep doing that for as long as we can. But hopefully we can highlight some new creative means for other people. And when you look at it through alternative means, like, can you adapt a creative endeavor so that it works for any person? Because there's challenges that can happen all along the way. Later on, when we are fully funded, I'm just going to say that because we're going to be fully funded.
Damn right. Speaking into the universe.
Yes, once that happens, and we actually have money to put back into the community aside from the trainings, that's one of the things that I would like to do, is to be able to provide access to creative means for people in different communities. So I want to see what's out there. I'm not arrogant enough to think I know all forms. So I want to go out there and find it and say, okay, what can I reasonably provide to you that you can learn, or I can get volunteers in the community to help teach you, that you can then continue doing it. Because if I go and give you $50 worth of art supplies, but you have no idea what you're doing with them, chances are they're going to sit on your shelf, you'll throw them away in a year or 2 years, and they never get used, or they get used once and you can't afford to keep doing it. So how can I help define that where it's very accessible with materials, very, being able to learn about the craft, 4 or 5 of them, and then be able to provide that back into the community. So there's a lot. I could keep going with it. My brain is constantly like pinging on
That's
it.
That's amazing. That really is truly amazing. First of all, I would love to be a part of it. I have a bunch of ideas. We'll talk about it after the interview.
Yes.
It's awesome what you're doing. Aligns very much with mine and some other people I know's brands and everything. So we'll talk more about it. It's incredible. I know you've been doing this for a short time, and it seems like you haven't really faced any, but I'm sure you have. You've already partnered with the VA near you. You've partnered with the people in Cocoa Beach. What are the obstacles that you've had to overcome?
I guess at first it's, getting people to believe in us. But really, it's going to sound totally cheesy. I had to believe in myself. So there has not been a moment in my head, kind of like peanuts and alcohol, When I make a decision to do something, when I see a point in it, then I just say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so it was kind of funny. A couple weeks ago, people kept asking, like they would say, yeah, I want to be involved in this, and I would explain everything to them, and yeah, I want to be involved, where can I be involved? And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking all of it, because I'd really only come up with the idea like a month and a half prior, and every little detail that I had planned out was up here. And every time I tried to write a list, it just didn't make sense. It didn't have enough details. It wasn't coming together. And so I came up here to the art studio, and I have a canvas. It's a 5 foot by 4 foot canvas. And I was like, you know what? I can't just keep trying to write this down. So I grabbed the canvas and I took it downstairs, and I grabbed a bucket of Sharpie markers, and I just went to town with a mind map. So it's got the duck in the middle, and then it's got, you can find it. It's on the page. It's on the Mac Quacks page. But everything I did in black is like ideas I thought of, like, okay, I want to do this, this, and this, and this. And that laid out everything from social media to website to ducks to merchandise to whatever, and then to the outreach and training. And then anything in green, I added people that I knew had already volunteered help, and that's an area where I knew that they could go. So I started putting it out that way. And then now that I look, it's down in my kitchen. So every day, all day long, I'm walking past it. I have no way to not think about it. It's right there, but I can get it out of my head. It's there to see, it's big enough to see. And as I walk by, if I think of new ideas, things like that, I can add to it. But I'm gonna make it a piece of living artwork. And so as we expand to each city, then I'm gonna paint over the surface of it with like a translucent paint, different sizes, whatever the case might be, until we have the entire front of the canvas filled. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool. I'm gonna have it hanging up on the wall when we've got our podcast room. It's going to be hanging up on the wall so people can watch it grow. But you were asking about the hiccups, and again, that I think it's pretty much that, just getting people to believe and see I'm serious. And I've talked to many people about it. You know, I've explained that no matter what, whether you want to be involved or not be involved, I'm going to make this happen. So I would like you to be involved. I hope you'll be involved. In general, to everybody that I'm talking to.
Sure.
I just am not accepting no one. And so obstacles have not been something that have been too extreme at this point. I'm sure that we'll face them. I think I told somebody about it at one point, and they kind of might have had a sour look on their face. But it didn't faze me. So that's good. There would have been a day that look would have sent me like crawling back in. It would have totally changed my direction and my path on whether or not I was going to say something or not say something. Could have derailed the whole project. But that day it didn't, and I'm excited about that. So that makes it.
That's amazing, and that's growth, for so many reasons, and you should be proud of that alone, not much less everything else you're doing.
It's fun. We added just a couple days. This is the funny part to me because of the length of time. So we decided about a week ago that we were going to add a cookie line.
Damn, that looks good though. That looks like one of those like Scotty things, you know, like.
It is like a spiced sugar cookie. But we're calling them support ducks.
Love it. I love it.
So my son is actually the chef that's making the cookies, so I'm excited about that. He's into culinary, and he makes incredible cookies. So we're gonna have those available when we do events. People will be able to get them. But that's a way for him to build a career too.
Yeah.
It was something that he loves. Again, this is all about trying to help out as many people as we can, and if that helps him find a career in something that he loves, and it's a damn good cookie. That's all I can say.
And if you want to keep anybody from negative thoughts, put them in a career that they love.
Yes, that's the way it should be. But the thing is look, we're all good at things, we all have things that we're passionate about, and if we all just stuck to that, we probably would have a pretty well running world, because there are people that are passionate about spreadsheets. It happens.
Thank God for them.
We wouldn't get anything done otherwise. But that's true. Like, there's nothing. I retired from my primary career back in 2016, early 2016. The prior year, I had missed 100 and something days of work. I'd gone out by ambulance multiple times, and I'm like, I cannot relearn like all of this. I cannot go through this again. And really, that was when I picked up my artwork. It was 2016. So it was something that I thought that again, it goes back to that self-defeating attitude. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to do anything. I wasn't, kind of like, oh my God, I'm not even 40 years old, and I'm not going to be able to work and be a part of life. It made me feel terrible about myself. So I picked up the artwork. Eventually I added in real estate because it's a career that I can work with myself, and I've got a great family that with the brokerage, that they help one another out. We're already very all like-minded, and so that allows me to still pursue that career and take care of myself at the same time. And so it allows so that's probably the other like challenge is, okay, well, I'm working, and then I'm also doing the foundation. But I'm working on building a team at Iron Valley, and the team is going to directly help support what I've got going on with Mac Quacks. As individuals, we want to be able to give back, and they want to be able to give back. So now it kind of helps to balance everything, because we all have the same mission. We're gonna work over here, and we're going to help our clients. We're gonna do everything we can for them, but we're also gonna help our communities here and make a difference here. And so because I've got that team mentality, it doesn't end up being as big of a struggle as it could be, or roadblock, however, I can't remember which word you used on that. So I bounce around on conversations. I'm terrible.
You're totally fine. You're totally fine.
I'll go from one question to the other.
Before we end it, I got to hear your 5-year vision, your 10-year vision. Where do you see everything going years from now when it's fully rolling and is big?
Oh, yeah? Okay, so big as I want it to be, I would say within 5 years, I want us to be able to have this training in as many cities as possible and in every state. If not, somehow making an impact further than that. But that's something that I have to, work out the logistics.
Those
How do we
ideas haven't come up yet.
Right, so I can't really do the trainings necessarily, but I could. That's a thing. So if I can have it the way, if I could have it the way that I want it, we will work with professionals, and we will develop a training that will be something that is like a 12 class thing, but you go once a month, so it covers an entire year.
Okay.
And maybe by the time we get that one developed, maybe we'll come up with another one that's like a follow-up type thing. Again, it's about re-engaging people. We don't want them to come to one, say, oh, that sounded nice, walk off and never come back again. If we keep providing new content, there's a reason for them to come back. And it's beneficial contact. It's for them. It's for them to learn new things and to be able to be as safe as possible. And for them, even if it's not for them, if it's for somebody they love, to be able to do that. Then we're going to take it down a little bit, and we're going to go towards a younger population. And so all of these ducks that we're putting in the community and their stories, if we can take, not if, when, we will make a cartoon version, and we'll put them in children's books with a message, with different messages, because if we don't want a bunch of adults that are jacked up in the way that we're jacked up, then we probably should start a little earlier.
Sure.
So and I know that I'm super excited about the way that social media and, a lot of things have come about, even in books for kids that talk about positive self-image, positive, but there's always new ways to add more to these stories, because you can do that cookie cutter mold of what does everybody know, but we all have unique individual stories and the ways that they impacted us. So maybe along the way, we will learn messages that we feel like are important to share with children. So I would love to do a book line that goes that direction. Once we have the ducks, because I think that's the primary issue that I really want to hit on. You're going to love this. Okay. So, and don't, if this is a bad thing to say, please cut it out. So after we do the ducks, obviously, well, there's other causes. There's other things that are important that we want to create awareness for. And if we already have an established base of viewers and participants and volunteers, why not add in other things that can be impactful? So when I was a teenager, I was an asshole. And I thought I knew better, and obviously, got caught up in the situation I told you about. But I ran away from home. I dropped out of high school. I ran away from home. I've never lived at home again since. I was 17 years old, and I ran away to a different state. I went down to Florida, and I was homeless for part of this time. We were sleeping on Orange Blossom Trail.
Yeah, I know it well.
Yeah, there's like these concrete tubes that were like, I don't know if they were building.
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, so this would have been like in '94 time frame. We would sleep in those. I would work at a temp agency. It was just a very interesting point in time in my life. But when I got out of that situation, fast forward, I was sitting there watching TV one day, and I watched Top Gun, and I was like, I'm going to go join the Navy. And so I picked up the phone, I called the recruiter, and at the time, I don't remember exactly, but I'm guessing it must have been this, they wouldn't take a GED. At that point, I had no GED or a high school diploma. So I went through an adult education system, and I went back to school. I went to school like 9 hours a day just so that I could get my high school diploma. Thankfully, I had wonderful friends and people that I was close to that I had met at that point, because I was still in another state. I wasn't in Illinois. I was donating plasma to get gas money for my car.
Exactly the same thing in Orlando. It's so weird. I was homeless doing the same thing.
I did this in Muncie, Indiana.
Oh, okay. I thought this was Orlando. Okay.
At this point, I'd left Florida. I'd left Florida. I'd gotten out of the situation I was in, and now I was up in Muncie, Indiana. So, went back to school to get my diploma. I graduated from high school like a week before I left and went to the Navy. But one of the things for down in Cocoa Beach is the Iron Valley location there is working to support a project. I believe it's called Matthew's Hope. And it's a homeless project, I don't know if it's a foundation project, whatever they're doing there, it's meant to support the homeless population that are there. Because unfortunately we have a lot of that.
Yes.
And especially now it's even worse. Again, in the industry, you're seeing this, house prices are going up, rent prices are going up. People are at risk all the time for this. So, I built a turtle, because a turtle carries his home on his back.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. No, I love that.
So ideally, I have a little marble in there that was meant to hold his back up, but then it's right there, and now it's just a piece of it. Happy little accident. Me and Bob Ross were on there. So that would be the goal. So like if I would get these, one of the ideas I'd already had is if I made these for them, I could put them out in the community. And if I could secure sponsorships and donors for this, that we could track them. So for every time the QR code gets scanned, it would trigger a donation to the homeless project or foundation in their community. So why couldn't we could do that every other community too?
That's amazing.
So there's definitely different animals and different causes and things that we can attack to keep us busy for years to come.
Absolutely.
So
It's so cool because honestly, once it gets traction and everything, you start building your name. People get really excited when they find these, and they'll post it on social media, and they'll tell their stories about it. So it's a great idea because it's like viral material, but it's for such a great cause.
yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing about social media. There's so much wrong with it, but that's one of the great things is you can do good with it if you want to.
Yes. Not the same as like 1985.
No.
You have to like up a bunch of. Now you just post a video. Apparently, videos do better. You can't like no reading. Well, some reading. You have to have the captions.
Yes, yeah.
That's what engages people.
You have to have it a certain part of the screen, post at certain times.
Yes, and it has to be video with the captioning so they can read while they watch. But you know, the thing is, we are engaging ADHD brains.
Absolutely.
And I am convinced that and this is going to be this maybe a non-popular opinion. I am convinced that ADHD and autism are not a defect or a diagnosis or anything else. It's real, but I think it's just part of the human brain and evolution, because the brains that were made 50 years ago wouldn't be able to handle the fast amount of information that comes at them right now. So when you're looking at technology and, you know, your phone is always in front of you, websites are always there, emails are always there, you can't turn it off. So you needed an upgraded computer, right?
You just blew my mind. That's crazy. What a great point.
Yeah. Our brains were just like, you know, 1,000 years ago, they weren't building skyscrapers. Their brains didn't have the ability to create what they needed. I mean, they built some crazy ass pyramids and things like that. And
that was before us. That was
right. That was well.
Yeah.
So we managed to do that somehow. We still aren't smart enough to know how they did it. So that's a little bit of a difference. But so our brains are constantly on. I know mine never shuts up, and it's usually, you know, the younger generation seems to be on point. Like they're doing the same thing. Their brains are always going. But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that. But
well, you were just saying you're you're going to be expanding to other issues and
yes.
things like that, and it's a good point too, though, because not that everybody I know has been diagnosed with ADHD, but I'm pretty sure if I asked anyone I know if they have it, they would say yes.
Yes.
I think it's hard to not feel like you have it right now because there's too many distractions.
Yes. And that's the thing is, I kind of look at it. So my son has high functioning autism and ADHD. I have ADHD. My daughter has ADHD. We're all, you know, bouncing around like that in our world. But I think that the less they look at that as it being a defect, and the more they realize it's a strength, because, you know, in reality, I have a hard time like patting myself on the back, but I can also say, you know, and look around at everything I accomplished in the last 3 months. It's amazing what happens when you don't drink and you're creative and you have a brain that goes all the time, because you're literally unstoppable.
And then sprinkle a little passion on top of that.
Heck yeah. I mean, but we need that. Like that is something that is important. And I mean, I hope that I express that to them, because I don't want them to think that they have something that makes them less than, because they're amazing.
I'm sure.
And I think it's all of it. I think it's I'll stop.
Honestly, yeah, we could talk about that for another hour, but it has been an incredible conversation. This has been Melissa. Follow Mac Quacks Foundations. Please support them. Follow them up. Hit them up. Stay in touch with them. Hit her up if you want to talk, if you want to help. Anything, everything is appreciated. I'll see y'all next time. Peace up.
Love it.
This is Character Asked It. You already know. Character Did It. I'm here with Larry White. Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
Hey, Larry White. I'm currently a reservist in the Navy. Also manage construction projects for the Coast Guard. So, dual-hatted. Yeah.
Man, how old are you?
48.
48. Okay, where are you from?
Philly.
I'd imagine you've been a lot of places since Philly, though.
Yeah, all over. So.
When did you join the military?
1995 is when I first came in. Was enlisted, was on a ship, and did 5 years and got out and used my GI Bill, went to college, got an engineering degree, hired on as a engineer at a local shipyard here where we build aircraft carriers. Did that for a couple years and then decided to come back in. So went active duty, got picked up for the Civil Engineer Corps to Seabees, and was active duty all the way from 2006 to 2018 when I transferred over to the reserves.
Okay.
So finishing out in the reserves. But yeah, been all over the place. First tour was here, Virginia Beach area. Did construction for the Navy, Public Works, and then deployed with the Seabees a couple times. We went to did a Central America, South America tour with the Civil Affairs Unit, and then went to Djibouti, Africa for a year. 2 months after that.
Wow.
And then came back into battalion, Amphibious Construction Battalion 2 here in Little Creek. Did that for a few years, and then down at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina with the Marines after that, and then transferred over to the reserves. Navy wanted to move me around a little bit too much. I had to stay close to here. Got children in high school, and decided I didn't want to go through any kind of custody situation or anything like that, so went to the reserves, finishing up now.
What was growing up like?
Interesting. My old man was, so I'm youngest of 5. My oldest sibling is 18 years older than me.
Wow.
Wow. The closest sibling to me is 10 years older than me. So my old man was 52 when I was born. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic, going to Little League games, and the boys are like, yo, that's so cool, your grandpa's come watch your practice and everything else. I was like, yo, that ain't my grandpa, that's my pop. But he's a World War II vet, and Korea vet. Unfortunately passed away in 1998 while I was active duty in the Navy. My mom's still kicking. She's 86 and living in the Philly area. We got some family up there still. So.
Did your brothers go into the military?
What's that?
Did your brothers go into the military?
My brother did. I have one brother join briefly in the 80s, but that was a short stint. So I'm pretty much the only one that followed suit with the military service.
How would you say it's affected your life?
Affected my life. So it's probably changed everything about me. Gave me a lot of discipline, direction, organization skills. I started off coming out of high school, went to WVU, West Virginia University, which is well known for being a party type school. So sending a 17, 18-year-old out there, didn't quite work out for me. So I was on tour with the Grateful Dead for a little while, and then landed in, my truck broke down in the Meadowlands, and my old man picked me up on the Jersey Turnpike, and then within 2 weeks I was in the Navy. So
wow.
He didn't really recognize me at that point. So
you gotta have some story you could tell from the Grateful Dead tour, man.
Oh yeah, I went to 6 shows on the East Coast last year of Jerry's life. So it was like 90, 93, 94 type time frame. So I saw a couple of his last shows.
Wow.
That was pretty cool. And then he passed away while I was in boot camp. So
damn.
It was the whole thing was a life-changing episode. But the Navy was good. It was brutal at first for me, but made the adjustment. Settled down, had some kids, and gave me all the tools I needed to raise kids and stuff like that.
When did you meet Melissa?
A little over 2 years ago. Coming out of COVID. COVID was kind of brutal as far as relationships, stuff like that. I was seeing somebody at the time, and COVID kind of took that down. So I took my time, and was hesitant to get online with the online dating. So I was getting ready to give up. There's a lot of shit out there, but found myself a gem right before I was getting ready to pull the plug. So met her, went to her local bar where she used to work, and for trivia night, and that was our first date, and it was awesome right from the start.
That's awesome. Now, for everybody watching, Melissa, I just interviewed her recently. She's the founder of Mac Quacks Foundation, which is a suicide. It's not for suicide prevention. It's a suicide awareness. It's a.
Sorry, my dog just knocked it down. He got a 180-pound mastiff. It's not.
Anyway, Melissa's foundation it's a crisis intervention awareness program, and it's an amazing thing what she's doing and trying to accomplish. And she's doing it because she made an attempt on her life that you were there for.
I was.
And I wanted to have this interview because I have a very similar experience, and the results were so different. And I would like to hear your perspective of her story, and then I'll share mine. And I think there's a lot that people could benefit from just the conversation that we could have.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll get started with that. So, as I said, we started dating coming out of COVID. It was an interesting situation. A lot of our relationship had to do with, our children are a lot older, becoming adults. So we were pretty free-willed, hanging out a lot, drinking a lot, having a good time. And Melissa's got a very storied background. A lot of obstacles, a lot of issues, a lot of challenges, some abuse in there, a lot of things that she had to deal with. But my biggest issue leading up to that night was I have my own issues, PTSD type related, a lot of training that I was involved in the military, particularly from my Central America, South America tour, where a lot of training that made you very alert. I was a leader of a 5-person team, deploying to El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Colombia, just a lot of interesting areas where it was just the 5 of us, alone and unafraid, usually in civilian clothes, showing up and doing evaluations on different sites, coordinating with different militaries, foreign countries. So the training that we received were kind of always kept me on high alert, noticed everything, and it was a great tour. It was really worthwhile, but coming out of that tour and going back into a different part of the military, it never really left that kind of high alert situation behind. So I always battled with, even being in the States where it's nice and safe most of the time, always noticing things, and had to come through, trying to put that down and not be on high alert all the time. So as our relationship started, I was battling that, and made a commitment to myself to kind of not notice signs and things like that, just in general. So wasn't picking up on a lot of the things Melissa was putting down. The night that it happened, we were drinking that night, and I just went to bed. So she was having a difficult time. She was it was hard to communicate with her. So I just kind of went to bed, and then I was awakened, and she told me what she did, and immediately took her to the hospital. That was kind of a brutal time frame there, trying to sort through, ensuring that she was in good hands, it was going to be safe, and that was pretty clear that she was going to pull through quickly, medically anyway. But the mental state, was, had to be dealt with. And so coming through that, where they kept her in the hospital for, multiple days, and decided to send her to a treatment facility, help her come through it. which she was not excited about. It was around her birthday, and did not want to be there. But I think it was a good experience for her. She got to meet some folks at that treatment facility and come through, some of her demons and decide, how she wanted to move forward in life. And we started talking about, those sorts of things. And it was a blessing coming out of a terrible, month-long experience dealing with that. Because petrified of the things she was saying, that nobody would care if she was gone, and all this other stuff. So that month process, as she came through that and really came out on the other side, dedicated and committed to addressing some of her issues, and getting involved in art therapy was awesome. Like, she's an artist, so a very talented artist. So that was extremely worthwhile, that art therapy, having a therapist there while she performs her art and asks questions. That thing was awesome, and it really pulled out a lot of the trauma that she had to deal with, and she chose to dedicate pretty much her life to making a difference through the foundation. I mean, it just kind of organically happened over a period of 6 months, with the ducks. And she likes to, we travel a lot. So we noticed that we started talking about, her vision and her project, talking to people we've known for a couple years through our travels. I travel once a month, for my work, and she tags along. So we've met a lot of people. We stay at the same hotel, go to the same restaurants, and so we've talked to these people for 2 years. But then she starts talking about her experience and sharing intimately what she did and what she's doing now, and just blown away by people we've known for a couple of years just automatically opening up about their own experiences. Yep. and thinking that's great, and sharing their testimony about their friend or their situation, and how great it is to have a format where a platform where we can not just memorialize those that succumb to their have issues, mental health, but to tell the stories of the survivors, tell the stories of families, have an outlet for those stories to be told, and allow people to talk about real talk, instead of just to, like I said, we talked to these people for 2 years. They're cool people. We talked to them for 2 years, but never deep like that.
Well, absolutely.
Just by her sharing her spirit, brought out a lot of people deal with stuff that we didn't even realize how much it was affecting the population, not just the military. I deal with it. The military's got a huge problem with it, so it's affected me personally. I've lost 5 brothers myself. But to hear other people's stories and how they deal with their own trauma, it just kind of lit the fire to keep this thing going, and it just organically came to this foundation. And we're really excited about helping and spreading the word, and providing resources and tools for folks that are dealing with stuff, and to tell people stories.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a powerful part about what you all are doing, and something I do want to talk to you about. You all are telling also the story of the survivors. And when she told you what she had done when she took all the pills, and you're on your way to the hospital, she's getting treatment, and then she's in the facility for how long was she in the facility for?
I mean, the whole process was about a month.
Okay.
So a couple weeks.
From that moment that she woke you up to the day she got back, but then beyond that, I know from my experience, when I got that phone call, all of the blame went to myself in my head. I was, what did I do? I was, it was my wife, you know, I'm her husband. Like, what did I do that wasn't enough that made her want to do, like, what, you know, I just went immediately to blaming myself, which, long story short, that she had a history that I knew I shouldn't do that, but it's still natural, I think. Did you share that experience? Like, it was very, the whole time she was in the hospital, everything, I couldn't process that she made that decision, you know?
Right. Yeah. It was, you know, mind-boggling to me, you know, especially to hear, you know, I mean, she has, you know, 2 kids of her own, and myself, you know, incorporated into my family, the people that love her, and to hear that she, you know, was talking the way she was, you know, caused me to, you know, blame myself for neglecting, you know, because of that military training in my mind, you know, specifically not, you know, looking at signs and things like that. So I took it to heart that, man, I should have noticed this, I should have noticed that, you know, but I turned that, you know, portion of my awareness off, and I just need to learn how to redirect it. And I think that's a tool that we're trying to teach folks, you know, when people are important to you, what to look out for and not to ignore certain signs. But, you know, at the end of the day, that blame, you know, as you kind of mentioned, it feels like it, you know, you have a part in this, you have some blame, but it really isn't. It's just somebody that's like going through a lot of things, and, you know, what they're telling themselves compared to reality sometimes is disjointed. And, you know, I've taken on some blame on a friend of mine who left, and, you know, you can always look back and you can always, you know, say what you could have done or should have done. But at the end of the day, if we raise awareness and we help folks, like my thing is, like, what we used to do is we'd say, when it comes to like DUIs, all right, in military, me as being a company commander, I would, you know, get with my senior folks and be like, all right, let's take a poll. Who do you think is gonna, you know, if I told you that somebody got a DUI, like, who would it be? And, you know, 3 out of 4 of us would pick a person, you know, that was in danger. And, you know, that's the person we wanted to focus on and talk to. And, you know, the same thing can be, you know, the manner in which we address that is the way we should look at, you know, everybody in our circle, whether it's our families, our friends. We should ask that question. Hey, who if somebody was going to commit suicide out of our circle, who do you think it would be? You know, and you'd be shocked that you get groupies together and talk intimately like that. You might pick the same person, and that person could be a danger. And that's who we need to kind of reach out to. So, and that's just one of the tools that we want to communicate out there, because that's legit. I mean, you would pick somebody that's going to get a DUI, and then before you can even do it that weekend, like that person got the DUI.
Wow.
It's like, man, you know, what could we have done?
No, absolutely. And you know, that also, you're uniquely qualified to help the foundation yourself too, because you know those things. All your time in the military, you have all sorts of things you can teach people of different signs that you should look out for.
Right. And then, even though the foundation is directed towards, you know, everybody, not just the veterans, but we are partnered with VA. We do have, you know, military background, and it is a huge problem. So, you know, it is a big part of, you know, reaching out to veterans and military is a big part. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm uniquely qualified, but, you know, I've been through some stuff, and this was an eye-opening experience. You know, I almost lost, you know, one of my love more than anything. So it was an easy decision. And when she, you know, when I saw her motivation behind it and how she was like really got this momentum rolling, I'm on board, man. So
absolutely. And that's the difference. That's the biggest difference between my experience with it and yours is Melissa realized all of the decisions that she had made in her life to lead her to that one mistake, that one huge mistake. And she changed. She adjusted her behavior. She adjusted her outlook. You know, my ex, she changed for like 3 days, but then just went right back to everything that she had been doing. And there is no rock bottom until the person themselves finds it themselves, admits that to it themselves that it's rock bottom. Because they'll always go deeper, but it's until you realize that you need the help, until you need to make the change, you're never going to get any better.
100%. And I think the big thing for Melissa was while she was at that treatment facility, you know, her roommate, you know, who has had a rough go of it too, with drugs and all kinds of stuff, thoughts like that, she was able to help her, like, and talk her through some stuff. And she has made a tremendous impact on this woman's, you know, life with, you know, dealing with her custody. They still talk all the time. Like so like that whole experience, while she, you know, wasn't excited about going through it, made her realize that she could help people, you know, and she has, and I mean, that's what she does. She talks to people, and I mean that's why she came up with, you know, a duck quacks, this Mac Quacks. That's how a duck talks. So she makes a tremendous impact. She has a gift to talk to people, and she wants to train people and partner with organizations to help, you know, talk through things. Like that's the big thing, and it makes a big difference. Because you're right, it's just like, you know, anything else, that's like addiction or anything else. You if you don't change the behavior, the thoughts, or your way of thinking, you're susceptible to going back to what you were. So she's just inspirational. That's all I can say. It really had a huge impact. We're just looking to help.
What advice would you have for people who are in your position, who are survivors of someone who's also a survivor?
I mean, it's difficult because you do want to look at, you know, what you could have done different, or what did you not notice, or what did what could you have done. But you have to kind of set that aside and understand that, you know, not all of us are, you know, mental health experts or counselors or understand the things that somebody might be going through. But at the same time, you know, there are things you can kind of look out as you move forward to help not just, you know, the individual that you were close to that you went through that with, but for other folks, you know, so to prevent, you know, that kind of loss, because the trauma left behind by the loved ones would be, I mean, that was my just couldn't believe that, you know, she would think that way when she is very much loved. And so you just have to understand that no, it's not your fault, but it is. There are some tools and some things you can learn to help, because you never know. I mean, you could slip back into it, like you said. Like, so you definitely want to be there for that person and remind them. But it's all about, you know, seeking help, counseling, talking through, understanding your talents, what you have to offer. And like I said, with her art therapy, that was a tremendous help, because it's something that she likes doing, and it brought out a lot of things. So if you could find that for that person that was going through it, and focus on, you know, what kind of they might have forgotten, might be a passion of theirs, what their talent is. It's just creating positivity. I mean, that's what you want to do in my situation, and support. And there's no better way I was just fortunate that she, made this commitment, this life-changing, movement, because it's easy to get behind. It's something that, I'm not scared at all. And that's the powerful thing, right? Because you don't want to go through it again, right? So I'm not scared at all. Like she's got it. I'm not worried. So I just want to help others,
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it is a scary thought when you feel like it could happen again. I mean, it takes a lot out of you emotionally being in that position. So it's an amazing feeling to say that it's not going to happen again. Where do you see all of this going in the next, 5-10 years, and what part do you see yourself playing in it?
It's hard to say. The vision is there. It's a lot of positivity. Everybody we talk to wants to get behind it, and it's just moving so fast that it's so hard to predict. I mean, I could see it going, being a huge forum for people in awareness, and the foundation being out there, and having major sponsors, and having, the community outreach programs that we're trying to set up just really taking off. And, I would like to see it like in 5 years. Like the military, Navy specifically, is having a difficult time, dealing with suicides, and especially, the veterans. And they've addressed it and they've moved forward, but they're still struggling to figure out the right manner in which to get the word out and truly make a difference. And I see this in 5 years as being one of those things that can truly make the difference. You get people to start thinking about life and their loved ones and what they offer and their talents. You start reading stories about what people left behind. They succumb to this, and hopefully, I'm kind of a founding partner with her, and I'm rolling with it. As far as my role, I'm on the board. I'm going to try and we're doing the accounting side of it, finance side of it, and try to raise funds so we can do all this stuff. But I'm telling you, I'm in 5 years we want to be sponsored, just like major charities and nonprofits out there that are doing good. So that's where I want to be. I'd like to be, at a Phillies game, like being recognized, or something like that. They're in a World Series or something. That's how much I want to get the word out, because I see it taking off, and I hope it does. That's what we want.
It's what we need. It's what we need. It's an amazing thing y'all are doing. I believe in it 100%. Y'all already know I'm willing to do anything you guys need. And I don't know. I'm really grateful I connected with you all. I'm grateful that you all are doing what you're doing, because it could really make a huge impact. And like you said, it's picking up steam every single day. I already know. I can see y'all's growth every day. I have the best of wishes for you all. Good luck. I can't wait to see it all blow up. I know it's going to. This has been an awesome episode of Characterized It with Larry White. Follow Mac Quacks Foundation up. Hit them up. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
The most prestigious network in the land, the Signature Series Network.